Welcome to this edition of the BRSN Insight. I'm sitting down with men's lacrosse coach Mark Blais. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You guys started practice 2 or 3 weeks ago. How have practices gone for you guys so far?
Pretty good. Definitely knocking off some of the rust from spacing and different issues like that. But once we got we were lucky enough the operations cleared our field a couple times so far, but obviously with this last polar vortex, we've been inside the last 2 days. So that's been kind of a struggle, but we can still get a lot of work done.
How does it vary from when you practice outside to when you practice inside?
So typically when we practice inside, we're going to do a lot more close-in stuff, a lot of stick skill stuff. We'll play what's considered indoor lacrosse, which is called box lacrosse. So it's a little bit different, smaller goals, more contact. And we can definitely get a lot of things done with that, with spacing, chemistry, and different stuff like that.
You said you graduated just one senior last year. Talk about some of the key guys you have coming back.
Yeah, so we only graduated Brun and Beau from last year. So at the attack spot, we definitely lost a lot of creativity with him. But this year, we have Peter Gerard coming back, who's our leading scorer. I think he led the team with 54 points. Trevor Savoda, Jack Candoff, Ryan Heinzer at the midfield, Sean Molyneux, Kyle Tomes. And then we return all of our defense, our goalie. So I think Ethan Novacek, Tyler Santini, and Dustin Reese are definitely going to anchor that down for our freshmen.
And you just mentioned your freshmen. You brought 11 freshmen in here. Talk about some of the guys that you think might have an impact.
Yeah, honestly, everybody. So we're going to have a lot of freshmen that play at close defense. Really, all of our poles are going to be in the rotation for that. Biv Schwartz, Drew Doran, Brody Helligzo. A lot of guys are going to have a lot of time to be had. Zach Clauser, and then we added a lot of depth at midfield and attack. Jimmy Carson, Curtis Wesley, Doug Shootman are definitely going to provide a lot of depth at the midfield. And then Brady Guck was an All-American in Kansas City this past year. Is going to add a lot of depth at that fourth attackman spot, that third attackman spot. That's going to really help us out, in the long run.
Your second year as a head coach, what are some of the things that you learned last year that are going to help you this year?
I don't know. Definitely, stay positive. The season's grueling. The first season is definitely tough. Going through those ups and downs. We played a really hard schedule last year. Playing a really hard schedule again this year. So definitely just staying positive with the guys and keeping things moving forward.
You need to talk about your schedule. Talk about your schedule this year. A lot of big games this year, especially a couple at home. I know you played number 2 Madonna at home.
Yeah, so we start off on Sunday playing Rutgers University, who's the number 15 team in Division II. They're a really solid team. Then we have Indiana Tech on Sunday, the 24th, which they are the number 4 team in the country. Then we have Michigan Dearborn. We have Madonna, number 2 team in the country. Aquinas, which is a perennially a top 10 team. And then plus our conference schedule is really tough with St. Ambrose, Missouri Valley, Columbia, St. Mary's. It's a really tough schedule.
With such a tough schedule, how do you set your expectations?
The best thing about the NAIA right now is the automatic qualifiers. So, at the end of the day, we're just trying to peak at the right time. We're trying to peak for the conference tournament, and that's really the biggest thing. So, would I love to go out and win, some of those big games? Yes, of course. But, an early season loss can do a lot of good for your program, push us in the right direction, and set us up for a good run in April.
Going into the year, what do you feel like is going to be your guys' biggest strength?
Our biggest strength is, we have shooters really all over the place. Our midfield and attack, we have a lot of guys that can shoot the ball. And really, the biggest things that we added a lot of depth at goalie. We added a lot of depth at pole. So I think our defenses are going to be really strong this year. And we have a lot of guys that we can run out there.
So you guys are picked 4th in the conference this year. What does the rest of the conference look like right now?
Well, Missouri Valley is Missouri Valley. They still have Ryan Barnes. They're still a really good, really solid squad. So they're coming here Wednesday in April. St. Ambrose is a team we lost to in overtime at their place last year. They brought in a really good recruiting class. They returned a lot of guys.
Yeah.
St. Mary's, same thing. They graduated some people, but definitely brought in some high quality guys. Lost it in overtime to them as well. And then picked below us, Columbia is a solid program. They had a lot of freshmen last year that have progressed into their sophomore year. Ottawa still has probably two of the best players in our conference. I think it's going to be a really fun KCAC season.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Benedictine College men's lacrosse coach Mark Blais on the BRSN Insider.
A wise man once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Discover what you were made for. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Back on the BRSN Insider, I'm sitting down with women's lacrosse coach Amanda Magee. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You guys coming off a 13-2 year, another trip to a national tournament. Talk about how practices have gone for you guys so far.
Practices have been a little challenging so far, obviously, with the weather.
Yeah.
It hasn't been the ideal spring season. We've been inside the Murph in that small turf field for a little bit, a couple practices in Haverty. And it's been a little challenging, but the girls are working hard and staying positive, so that's really all I can ask for.
What is the biggest difference for you guys from practicing inside to practicing outside?
So outside is obviously the ideal situation, right? Because we get to practice all those full field scenarios and situations. So inside we do a lot of small stick work, small technique things. So we specialize more in working the draw or the offensive group or the defensive group. So it's just a little bit of a little more planning on my part and the coaching staff.
You lost your leading scorer from last year, Lizzie Darrow, but you also brought a lot back. Talk about some of the key returners that you guys have.
The returners are excellent this year, and we're so lucky to have them. I'd say off the top of my head, Casey Moore is someone who I'm really, really excited to have back this year. She'll be on the draw circle for us. Molly McInerney, who's also a junior this year, captain, she'll be our new QB1 this year, so she'll call all the plays on the field. And then our goalies have just been playing out of their minds so far this past 2.5 weeks, so I'm excited to have them back.
What is it like not having a senior on the team?
At first it was a little strange, right? But it doesn't feel like we're a young team.
Yeah.
These girls who are juniors and sophomores, they've gotten a lot of playing time in the amount of years that they've been here. So it's almost as though they are seniors already, and I get to have them for 2 more years. So it hasn't been very difficult.
You also brought in a good, decent size freshman class this year. Talk about some of your newcomers that will have an impact.
The freshmen are outstanding athletes, if I'm being completely honest. I am really excited for Natalie. She's a freshman from Philadelphia. She will be taking the draw this year, and she is just a powerhouse. And then another freshman, Aiden McInerney from Kansas City. She is an attacker and she has no fear. She'll drive to cage if she's got 3, 4, 5 girls on her. So I'm excited to see what she'll do.
You guys were starting out the season ranked number 8 in the country. You guys were picked to win the KCAC this year. Talk about what that means to the program and how you guys have progressed so far.
It's really exciting. I was kind of expecting that ranking just because that's how we ended last season. And since nobody has played yet, I didn't think there would be too much of a shuffle.
Yeah.
And it's great to get our name out there, but I don't think we can take too much stock into that just because we haven't competed yet. I'm excited to get that number up a little bit higher than number 8 for sure, too.
You start off against Rockhurst on February 9th, but then you get a nice break to March 1st against your first NAIA opponent. Talk about how you can use that to your advantage.
So it's excellent for the coaching staff because we get to use it as a little bit of 2 preseasons. And Rockhurst has been a very competitive game for us in the past few years, so we're looking forward to competing with them next Saturday. And that'll be a great opportunity for us to break film down, see what we need to work on before going into those NAIA games that first week of March.
So talk about the rest of your guys' schedule. You play 3 of the top 6 teams in the country within a 2-week span. Talk about how important it was to get those tougher games on your schedule.
Yeah, that was probably the most important thing in this off season, to try and schedule those teams. Hopefully that will help us in the ranking. Last year I felt like we really did not get challenged until we did go to the national tournament and we did play that number 1 seed. So I think it's going to be very beneficial for us to have that pushback and to see, are we as mentally tough, as physically tough as, we're playing right now.
What do you think the biggest strengths are going to be of your team this year?
I think our biggest strength is going to be our offensive set. In the past, we've had 2 or 3 girls who have really taken ownership and scored a good amount of our goals. And now I feel like that is so spread out, and so many of the ladies are capable of driving 1v1 to cage. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to play out.
We've talked about already, you were picked to win the conference. What do you see from the rest of the conference going into this year?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a weird year for the KCAC. We've had a lot of coaching changes, a lot of different people leaving schools, adding to their rosters. I'm excited to see what happens. We played a couple teams in the fall. We played Ottawa and St. Mary. So I'm hopeful these teams will have stepped their game up too, so we get a little bit more competition in conference.
Finally, going into the year, what are your expectations for your team?
My expectations are to make it to the national tournament and to win a national championship.
All right, Coach, thank you very much. Benedictine College Women's Lacrosse Coach Amanda Magee on the BRSN Insider.
A wise man once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Discover what you were made for. Benedictine College, where greatness begins.
Back on the BRSN Insider, I'm sitting out Director of Cross Country and Track and Field, Henry Brun. Coach, thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Deep into your guys' season already, just talk about how the season's gone so far.
The first couple meets in December were nice. Good icebreakers for the new kids on the team and kind of getting the rust off for a lot of the track athletes who were returners. And then the weather hit. So we had the holiday, so there were about 3 weeks where we weren't here. When we got back, the weather has taken a toll on our training quite a bit. We missed our first meet at Doane that first week back in January. So this past weekend at Northwest Missouri last week was actually our first meet back from the semester, which was about a month in between competition.
How does that impact the athletes with such a long layoff?
It does to a certain degree, knowing that they're kind of itching to get back into a groove.
Yeah.
If it is that we're trying to qualify for nationals, which there's a ton of kids on the team right now in various events who are on the bubble, it kind of disrupts their routine of knowing every 6-7 days they can go out there and get some good competition in, some marks that count for something. They just get eager. And then on top of that, with the weather outside and us trying to get creative with how it is that we're training, it really presents an obstacle, but that's where coaches get creative on what it is we need to do and kind of work on some other things.
How do you work around the weather as a coach when it comes to your guys' training?
The facilities here are actually pretty great as far as what we can do. We can go into the rec center and do some things on the track. The spinning bikes are good. Being able to go to the pool with the YMCA is good. And then when the weather's warm enough, we can kind of get outside and do some just longer running. But we just, like I said, we got to get really creative with how it is that we do certain things in order to get the workouts that we need for Saturdays.
You guys were at KU last week. Talk about what you saw at KU week and John Danner hitting the A standard.
So John hitting the A standard, we were kind of expecting that. This is the meet he did 2 years ago when he was an All-American in the 1,000. This was the meet he qualified in. There were a number of other athletes out there who were right on the bubble. You had Scott Brannon, who was 13 centimeters from qualifying for nationals in the shot put. Eric Renier was about 25 centimeters from qualifying in the weight throw. Our women's 4x4 was 1 second away in the relays. Melanie Cozy was 3 seconds away in the 1,000. Bobby Shope was 0.7 seconds away in the 600. Teresa Ambule was 1 second away in the 600. So it kind of goes on, and it was a very good meet for us. We competed really well. We were just frustrated, and it's okay because we're right on that cusp of turning the program from being a conference competitor year in and year out to having some notoriety at the national level, which is really nice.
You guys go to Doane this weekend. Talk about what your expectations are for this weekend.
It's the final tune-up, so a lot of people on the team who've already qualified for conference, about 40 athletes or so. they've already hit the marks they need to. They already know what seeds and flights and heats they're going to be in when they go to conference. They know kind of roughly about how many points they may score in their respective events.
Yeah.
So they may be going there and just doing some tune-up running, run a race just to kind of continue to race, and then do a workout outside. It's supposed to be nice on Saturday.
Yeah.
We've got a relay running on the men's and women's side where we can potentially qualify for nationals in the men's 4x800.
Yeah.
And also the women just getting a time in the 4x8, and I think they'll be a heavy favorite in that relay at conference. Yeah. And then the meet also serves as a final qualifier for those who are on the bubble. So only top 18 in the conference performance list in your specific event can qualify for conference.
Okay.
So there's some on the outside looking in. There's some who are 16 through 18 who want to maintain a spot to go. And then there's some who are 10 through 18 who are looking to move up into the top 8 spots. They know that they can score a conference. So it's a big meet for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But it's the final tune-up before we go to the conference meet.
And Doane is the same place that conference is held. How does going there the week before help for conference?
It's definitely helpful for some of the newer athletes because they've never seen the facility. We didn't get to go early this season.
Yeah.
It helps us get comfortable with some of the different intangibles, the runways for the jumps, the circles for the throws, the tightness of the track on the turns for the sprinters, and just kind of getting accustomed to the surfaces for the middle and long distance runners. So,
expectations for conference this year?
The national rankings came out yesterday, the second round of them. Our women are sitting at 14 nationally. MNU's sitting at 12. And we know that we could go in there like we had the last 3 years, and I've had this talk with our ladies already, and finish as a runner-up. And that's nice, but we want to try to go for broke and see if it is that we can win this conference meet. It's going to be tough. On the men's side, they continue to leap up the national rankings. I think they're 37 right now. They started the season at 60. They're ranked 4th in the conference right now. Typically, we go into the conference meet, we're a little shallow in numbers on the men's side, but the recruitment and development of the program over the last couple of years has given us some depth. And even though we're ranked 4th, the goal is to shoot for about a top 3 finish, because typically we finish 5th through 7th. And I think it would be a huge step in the right direction if both of our teams finish top 3 at the conference meet next weekend.
Who are some of the athletes that you expect to perform well near the top at the conference meet?
On the women's side, it's going to be a lot of work from a lot of people. So you've got Maddie Minner, who's our top multi. She's going to go in there. We're hoping she wins the multi, does well in the hurdles. She's also going to do some high jump and some long jump on top of the pentathlon. You got Melanie Cozy, who's our top middle long distance girl. She's going to be competing from the 4x8 all the way up to the 3K over the course of the weekend. And then there's just little pieces here and there. You got jumpers. Sarah Lucas is going to be big for us in the jumps. Our 400-meter girls are going to be big in the 2 and the 4. Yeah. Our middle distance girls are going to be covering everything from the 600, the 800, the 1,000, the mile, the 3K, the DMR, the 4x8, and potentially the 4x4. So it's all hands on deck. Yeah. On the men's side, you've got it's pretty even across the board. We've got a couple big throwers with Scott and Eric who we're hoping that can score some points for us. In the sprints, we actually have Trey Adger, who plays football as well. Yeah. He comes in and sprints the short sprints for us, and him, Joe Butler, and Jarrell Rawls, I think, are going to be big pieces in the short sprint side of things. Yeah. Jeremiah Keneally's a multi, who I think will do well in the multis and some field events. And it's really going to take a team effort with the middle and long distance guys. John Danner will lead the way. He's going to run out there to win his particular events. But then you're looking at Liam Morrell, who broke the school record in the 800 a couple weeks ago, to do some things. You're looking at some of our middle distance guys like Daniel LaPlante to do some things, Colin Donovan, who's a freshman, to do some things, and Matthew Mason, who's a sophomore, to do some things. And they're going to be doing a lot of work to try to make sure that they can finish top 3. So it's all hands on deck in the next couple of weeks.
All right, Coach, thank you very much, and best of luck to you guys in the next couple of weeks.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Director of Cross Country and Track and Field, Henry Brun, on the BRSN Insider.